Welcome to Chapter 1 of Intercultural Communications. I hope you're having a good day, and I want to kick this chapter off and in the course off by going through these slides. What I'm going to do is, even though we cover a couple chapters in this first week, I'm going to go through these one chapter at a time so you can more easily go back and forth and find what you want as far as my overview. Now, I will tell you this, and I'll tell you this every time probably, but my quote-unquote lecture here is going to be very short, and it's just to hit the highlights of and kind of my perspective on some of the things brought up in the chapters. So it is not a substitute for reading the chapter. So make sure you do read the chapters. They're pretty short anyway, and you do need the background information for your project and the questions that you'll be asked in the forums and your other coursework, the article analysis and such. So please do take that to heart and read the chapters as you should. Okay, the key ideas or the outline of the chapter is, as you see right here, and we'll touch on all those just briefly. Okay, we are an interconnected world, no doubt about it. This is true, and these areas to varying degrees are interconnected as well. Most importantly, and for our perspective, is economic interdependence and interconnectivity. That is by far, out of all these, and it's really not even listed there other than competition for jobs, by far that is the biggest interconnectivity. So within that framework, we have to be aware of and consider the ability to communicate within those many diverse groups of people that we'll encounter in our lifetime. And as time goes on, you're going to encounter more and more, even if you stay in your own local area. You may in fact be exposed to an international business where you collaborate in teams that cover vast distances. So that's one of the main reasons why we're studying this, is to help you communicate within cultures, cross-culturally, and be effective managers and employees. So it's a product of, without a doubt, world trade. Communications have become much more ubiquitous. We've got the internet, if nothing else, but cell phone traffic, large corporations. It has spanned the globe, and to be aware of these things and to be sensitive to them is to your advantage. There is growing domestic diversity, i.e. within the United States. No doubt about it. That's likely to increase. And there's also a generational gap culturally. I mean, I'm of the baby boom gap, and there are differences. I mean, they're not gigantic, but they are out there. And they, I don't know if they will perpetuate themselves as people in younger cohorts, age cohorts, become older and more mature, but we'll just have to see if they persist or not. U.S. immigration has accelerated in a lot of senses, especially those south of our border. But they do come from all over the world, without a doubt. And so we need to be aware of that. But we need to be more aware of more than the Mexican culture, and consider huge trading partners within China, Europe, and the rest of the world. Technology has shortened the space between us, especially culturally. The U.S., and this isn't really talked about here, but the U.S. exports culture in a lot of senses because of our media and us being such powerful producers of media, or the volume of media, if nothing else. But technology's made it, people have cell phones all over the world, and the internet has given us connectivity all over the world. Here's just a couple definitions. I'll let you read those for yourself. It's just good to understand, kind of the lexicon of our discussions. One thing I will tell you right now is that culture, I don't view as a business person as far as national culture and cultures from, where you maybe are from, locally or regionally, as anything sacred. Culture is just a habit that we learn as we grow. As we grow up, we learn it from our parents. Culture is as simple as you may have turkey at Thanksgiving, or you don't celebrate Thanksgiving at all, or any number of things. So there is nothing sacred about it in the sense that it might be interesting to study, and it is, but I don't believe in a business sense it holds anything special other than it is what it is. Because we all have to adapt as we go to different cultures, different businesses. Businesses have different cultures. If you work at more than one place, you'll certainly recognize that. So it's up to the individual going into the new culture to learn that culture and to assimilate. Okay? But we can help speed that along by being aware of what they're bringing with them and to better and more quickly communicate. And again, I'm not going to read that to you. You can see it there. So venturing into a new culture, there is, if you ever get a chance to travel abroad, I highly recommend it. But there's languages, values, common bonds, there's unspoken culture. We'll go through that as the course progresses. Culture shock, you've got different phases that the text talks about, like exhilaration, disenchantment, adjustment, and effective functioning stage. This is what we want to get to, and as quickly as possible, is that functioning stage, where someone can operate and contribute to an organization business-wise and earn their keep in that sense. So that is a vital requirement for anyone moving to a new place, and it could be just into a different company, as I said before. Okay, so that's what we're after, that effective functioning stage. Functioning in a new culture, there's an old saying called when in Rome, do as the Romans, which just means learn what's going on around you and try to adjust. And I think that holds true for everyone. Even people coming here have to learn. It's in their best interest to learn the language, i.e. English, and the culture, the dominant culture here, because that's how they're going to prosper. So I'm not so worried about guarding against ethnocentrism, meaning that there's a dominant culture. I don't think we need to guard against it, quite honestly. What we need to do is be aware of it and take or borrow from those new cultures things that are of value and add them to our own. We stress differences way too much. We're going to study those differences as a means to an end, but to dwell on the differences I don't think is very productive in the long run, for sure. Ethical considerations, without a doubt, there are different ethical constructs from culture to culture, and that is important because that is a very powerful determinant of behavior, and we have to be aware of those things, or we risk some bad events, shall we say. Ethical perspectives, fundamentalism, timeless morals, relativism means it can change. As far as ethics go, I think me personally, I would lend myself more to the fundamental. I don't think there's a lot of change in my moral fiber over time. It would be, where you attend a Christian college, and I would adhere to that as a basic tenet, the Ten Commandments and such, and kind of the Judeo-Christian values that most of us have grown up with. And so I don't feel any need to worry about that too much. But relativism is a shifting ground and is more difficult, quite honestly, to interpret and to prosper in. So, but it's worth studying, without a doubt. Within communication, we want to be very careful and due diligence, meaning we want to do the research to effectively communicate and to succeed. But again, it's a two-way street. Individuals are, and even within the same culture, there's no two people alike. And if you ever get married, or you are currently married, you are joining a whole new culture there, because that person that you're marrying comes from a different culture. Even if they look the same, speak the same, and grew up next door to you, their family has a different culture. So this is a broader issue than you might first assume. And there are generalizations. Some are more accurate than others. I mean, generalizations are made about U.S. culture as well, excuse me. But we want to be careful about these and be cautious, I guess, is probably the best word. And be objective, not be biased, and again, we're looking at this in the context of a means to an end. We want to effectively communicate in order to be ready for business. Okay, that's the chapter 1 in a nutshell. Keep reading, and see you in chapter 2.